Um, we're gonna talk. Oh, we're gonna talk. I'm gonna talk about FF16. I don't know. From the demo, I've said what I said. I don't know if I'm just being overly pessimistic about it. It's also making me realize, like, the more I think about it, the more it's like, I don't know what I was expecting. I don't know what I want. I just know what I saw, at least as far as the demo is concerned, wasn't what I was looking for. And maybe if I had more time to cook with the gameplay, or maybe if I had more of an opportunity to see where the story was going, maybe my opinion would have been different. Because, like, I do want it to be good. If you're gonna say this is going to be the next, big Zelda game, this is the next big Final Fantasy game, this is the next big installment of this legacy series, next major installment, it should be true to the spirit of that series. That should be a factor. I think 16 does keep true to the spirit of Final Fantasy, at least in terms of, like, wanting to tell a story, wanting to build a world that, like, people are gonna get very invested in. So much as I have complaints about its gameplay, it still does what it's supposed to as a Final Fantasy game. There's a lot of weird dismissiveness towards 15 with how 16 gets talked about. Like, it's not a true action RPG. I'm like, it was an action RPG, guys. What are you saying? Why are you dismissing the work on that game? That's kind of messed up. Like, as much as I may not have been a fan of 15, I'm pretty open that I didn't really like it. I give it its flowers where I feel like it deserves them. 15's characters are some of the best in the series. But yeah, I feel like there's this weird dismissal of, like, that 15 was 16's precursor and was important to, like, 16 being what it is now. The Ifrit versus Phoenix random rail shooter segment was a bit concerning, just as, like, that kind of random out of nowhere shift is a pattern in games that lack focus. I agree. I was actually I remember complaining about it. Like, why is it suddenly this on rail shooter that thinks I can aim? Because it was just a weird kind of direction to go. I guess, like, in terms of giving control to the player as a summon giving control to the player of a summon is definitely something they, as a series, haven't really put a lot of thought into. The closest would have been 10, but that was still very much in 10's gameplay. I already forgot what I was saying. Ifrit versus Phoenix random rail shooter segment. Yeah, I was saying that, like, why am I suddenly in a rail shooter when it's, like, while I was playing the demo? Why am I in a rail shooter? And I get it's weird to, like, give the player control of the summon itself. The only comparable time that's ever happened was FF10, and even then that was still very much so in the vein of FF10's battle system. No worries. What's up, Waffy? It's good. That's still very much so in the scope of FF10's battle system, which honestly, I think it felt better that way. I think it would have been cooler to have it in, like, an open battle, like, in that underground space, but, like, an open battle arena. And then you just, like, yeah, you get, like, a move set, you get to do this, that, and that for your attacks as Phoenix, and you have to like, you know, just beat up on Ifrit. Actually, it's reminding me now of the summon battles from NT, where, you know, it like, crap, that would be a good comparison, actually. Where you have, you know, these big ass monsters that you were fighting. It was the summons that you were fighting, and they had their movesets. You have to time your shit. You have to, you know, use the battle system that existed and have it be, use the battle system that existed and have it be a part of fighting that big boss. To have like a completely different monster from like what is normally seen in the form of like the summon, the big summon. Have it be a completely different monster, but then like still have that same battle experience. So I think, yeah, that's a good freaking point. That freaking on-rails shooter section, it was just weird.
I'll give it all I have.
And like that's something that is one of those things that like makes me think that, you know, that game is not gonna be, you know, it's good, but it's not gonna be great. Cause it like can't decide what it wants to be. As far as the demo showed, I'm really discouraged at what was shown. I was really discouraged about it. I was hoping for more. But like, and a big chunk of it was like, I just really didn't enjoy the gameplay because a lot of it just felt like pressing one button. Like, no, I shouldn't say it that way. A lot of it felt like there was nothing like different between. The battles felt unsatisfying. There, let's say it that way. The battles felt very unsatisfying to me, because I can get with like a button masher. I can get with like you know, more if it's just like really simple gameplay, that's fine. But you know, if they're playing up, this is this is a big paradigm shift for the series, and then like the gameplay that you settled with isn't actually that good or interesting, that's kind of inherently a problem. I have a feeling that it's gonna be one of those situations where I play the game, I'm gonna hate every time I have to go into a battle. And I'm not gonna have the option to just auto battle through it. I'll have to like be looking at it, but I'm not actually gonna be like trying in it, if that makes sense. I have to stay looking at it, but I don't ever have to actually put any effort into it. I just felt like the gameplay wasn't any different, going from being in that stagger phase and not being in that stagger phase. Because you're just pressing the same button, you're pressing it at the same time, with the same timing. There's nothing like to make it more engaging to me. And again, the game could prove me wrong. The extended icon system could prove me wrong. I don't know, but like I'm speaking specifically, this is what they showed us. This is your showcase. This is your please buy our game. We'll give you this much time to try it. Please buy our game. I don't think it's a good showcase. To say the game is gorgeous, to say the soundtrack is great, that's, you can't dismiss that, but also it's kind of expected. The voice work is great. The story so far is definitely curious. I'm not entirely sold on it, but I'm curious about it. I'm not gonna say like I'm super captivated by it yet, but I'm curious about it. But like, yeah, if this is like to say it's expected, and it is a little unfair to the game to immediately kind of dismiss that as, well, it's supposed to be. But the core of my like real harshness towards 16 is the gameplay, because I do feel like it comes up kind of short, and like that's why I'm so disappointed with it, because I know they can do better, but they need to like focus in on what it is they want to do. Oh. Like 14 has relatively shallow gameplay. The reality of the situation with 14 is everything is a DPS race. Everyone is just a DPS in a different color. But the game still like stands out as being, you know, exceptional because it understands what it's trying to be and it does what it does right. It fully embraces its gameplay and, you know, plays it out in a way that is interactive and is, you know, makes you think. You have to figure out the mechanics. You gotta find the patterns so that you don't freaking get hit by every other thing and die.
Let's do this.
You gotta figure out your rotation. And like, and it's still like casual friendly enough that if you don't ever actually figure out your rotation, you'll still get through 90% of the content. Just don't try and do Savage or Ultimate. You can probably even squeak through Extremes, honestly. As long as you're not like standing there dying to everything, you can not know how to play your class and get through an Extreme. I do it all the freaking time anytime I play a tank that isn't Warrior. I have a feeling that it's gonna be one of those situations where I play the game, I'm gonna hate every time I have to go into a battle. And I'm not gonna have the option to just auto battle through it. I will have to like be looking at it, but I'm not actually gonna be like trying in it, if that makes sense. I have to stay looking at it, but I don't ever have to actually put any effort into it. My take on the remake of FF7. Whew, okay. You're new here. I am not a fan of 7 remake. At all. I think it's so boring. The gameplay is not... It's not good. It's just not really for me, I guess. My complaint tends to be in the form of it's too slow to be a good action game, but not strategic enough to be a good RPG game, and it's trying to take this middle ground that's just not fun. And then on top of that, the story, the pacing of the story is kind of terrible. Like... when you take a 3-hour segment of a game and you stretch it into 30 hours, it's just boring. It's just boring. There's nothing more I can say. Like it's so boring. It feels like it's doing a sort of afraid to commit to really being one or the other, but unwilling to fully combine the two. Oh no, it's just going to be a lesser version of both. Exactly. Like, my friend was saying it felt like DMC Light, and I'm like, that's actually a really good comparison. Cause, based off the demo, obviously, but for 16, I mean, I was like, yeah, that's actually a really good comparison, because it does feel exactly like that. You want to build those combos, but the combos are super simplified. And, like, it's more about, you know, building up a number of hits than it is about actually, like, trying to find a sequence that's like really efficient. I feel like people are either on one side of the fence or the other, like, and they shouldn't be, obviously, but like I feel like, you know, either you're blindly praising it or you're a hater. Or the other way, or it's the other way around. You're blindly hating it, or you're a shill. And it's like, no, there's definitely a middle ground, guys. You can enjoy something and still acknowledge that there are faults.